Welcome back to my channel, and it has been a little while since I posted a video, but I am back today with my May wrap up. So normally I do film a mid-month wrap up and also a end of month wrap up. But in May, I didn't actually get around to posting my mid-month wrap-up, so I'm going to be combining it into this video. So I had already filmed my mid-month wrap-up, I just didn't get around to editing it. So you will see after these clips my first books for the month, and then you will be diving back into present day where I talk about my stats and such. So I will skip back to my previous clips that I filmed where I talk about the books that I read in the first half of the month, and then after that you will see my stats. And the first one that I have to talk about is The Launch Date by Annabel Slater. This came out this year and was a debut novel. And I really enjoyed this one. I actually gave this one 4 stars. And this one is a enemies to lovers workplace romance. And when I say enemies to lovers, as with most workplace romances, the enemies to lovers, the enemies is kind of like the weaker part of it. It's more like dislike to love, I would say, rather than full-on enemies. But in this one we follow Grace and Eric, and they work for this big corporation, and within this corporation they have 2 dating apps. It's a big tech company that has lots of different apps, but they work for kind of rival dating apps within the company. So they work for these 2 dating apps, and one dating app is focused more on people finding their true love and is all definitely more about the romance side of things, whereas the other app is more about people dating and kind of hooking up, but they're not necessarily looking for a serious relationship. And at the beginning of the book, the CEO of the company says that he wants to develop a new app that is centered around people matching based on type of dates that they want to go on. So the basic premise of the app is that they'll show like lots of different activities like hiking, pottery painting, salsa dancing, things like that. They'll show lots of different activities, and people can swipe either left or right on those activities, and based on if they swipe right on the activity, they will be shown a selection of people that have also swiped right on that activity, and then they can then use that as a kind of starting point to go on their first date. They can go and do that activity for their first date, and they're going to partner with lots of different companies to offer these different dates to people. And Eric and Grace are paired up together to work on this project, and there is a lot of tension between the 2. They started out as friends when they first joined the company, but something happened that kind of made Grace pull away from Eric, and it's not kind of said until later on in the book, so I won't say what that is, but it was a misunderstanding basically that could have been resolved with a simple conversation. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. I thought the romance in this was good. I really liked the concept of these 2 people working at a dating app. I don't think I've read any books that feature dating apps before, or if I have, I can't recall them, and I thought the premise for the new app was really interesting, so I liked them. They obviously had to go out and experience these different dates, and obviously that brought them closer together. I really enjoyed this one, and I'd be interested to check out more from this author in the future. Then I read Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reid, and this was another new release for this year, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. I did round it down to a 4, but it was a 4.5 stars. I did really enjoy this one, and this one I wouldn't really call a romance. It is a young adult dystopian sapphic novel, but as I say, it's not a romance. If you're going in here wanting a happy ending, be warned, you might not get that. And in this world, people can get things on credit, and they can build up so much credit, but when it gets to a point, when they get to a certain level of credit that they've used, the debt is called in, and they can either pay that debt off, or they can set up someone else to kind of take the debt for them. And if they do that, they end up going into this kind of trial where they basically have to survive, and they have these people who have been trained to kill within this trial. So the person that is paying the debt goes into this trial. It's basically a fight to life, a fight to the death, and our main female character, whose name I will not even claim to remember, Inessa, I think. Yeah, Inessa. Her mother basically volunteers her as tribute type thing, and she goes into this, and Melanie, I think is how you say it, but it's got a unique spelling. I'll put it on screen. She is the one that has been trained to kill within these trials, and it's their story. Obviously it's kind of a bit of a adventure story in terms of we're following them within the trial. I really enjoyed this one. I thought the world was really interesting. I would definitely have liked to have seen a bit more. The world could definitely have been developed a bit more. There was a lot that I feel like was not explained as fully as it could have been, but overall I did really enjoy the story. If you enjoy Hunger Games, any sort of dystopian novel like that, I think you would really enjoy this one. This is a young adult novel, but I definitely still enjoyed it. And then, just trying to reach back and knocked it over, then I read Hex by Emily McIntyre, and this is the gorgeous sprayed edge edition that The Works did. This is the last book in the Never After series, and this one I gave 4 stars to. So I didn't love this one as much as I was hoping to, and as much as I have loved previous ones in this series. This one does feature the Mafia in it, and I did read this for the Mafia Romance Readathon. I ended up not reading as many Mafia books as I was going to, so that's why I haven't done a vlog of the readathon. So if you were waiting to see that, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but there's not going to be one coming. I just ended up not reading as much as I wanted to, and didn't really, although I did read some books, I didn't really have the urge to update because life just got in the way. So yeah, this one we follow Vanessa and Enzo, and they end up meeting. Vanessa is actually engaged to Enzo's cousin, so it's kind of a forbidden romance in that aspect. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. It's definitely a fun time. I listened to this on audio, and this is obviously like a Little Mermaid inspired retelling. Vanessa is obviously kind of based on the Ursula character. She is definitely a bit of an outcast, and she works for her father's company and does some quite brutal things. In fact, at the beginning of this book, we actually see her harming a man. She's like got him tied up to a chair, and yeah, it definitely starts off with a bit of a bang. But yeah, I liked this one, but it's not my favourite from the series. But I would definitely recommend this series if you are looking for reimaginings, fairy tale reimaginings that are on the darker side. This series is definitely for you. And I also you just need it because the covers are so beautiful as well. But yeah, I gave that one 4 stars. Then I listened to Forbidden King by Laura Pavlov. This is book 3 in the Magnolia Falls series, which is a small town romance series, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 5 stars. This is a childhood friends to lovers romance, and it's also a best friends little sister romance. So in this one we are following Sailor and I can't remember his name. His nickname's King, but I can't remember what his first name is. But Sailor and King and their romance, they have been friends since they were children. King is best friends with her brother, and it's their romance. They have always leaned on one another when times have been difficult, and I really love seeing their romance develop in this one. Obviously there's that kind of forbidden aspect because King doesn't want to jeopardize his friendship, but yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I listened to it on audio, and I really am enjoying listening to this series by Laura Pavlov. If you are looking for small town romances, she is definitely an author to check out. Then I listened to Bound by Love by Cora Riley, which is book 6 in the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I did like it slightly more than the first book in this series. No, I didn't. I'm thinking of the next book. I gave this 3.5 stars, and this one I didn't like as much as previous books in this series. I was thinking of the next book, which I did like more than the first one. So this one, is book 6 in the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles, and this one we are back with the couple from the first book, who is Aria and Luca. So this one I didn't like as much as some of the previous books in this series, because this one, as I say, we're back with the original couple, Aria and Luca, and this one definitely rehashes some of the events that we see happen in some of the previous books. So the first book follows Aria and Luca, and then we get to see other couples, and some of the events that happen in the other couples' books we get to see happen again in this book, but from Aria and Luca's point of view. And I didn't necessarily like that, because the majority of the first half was events that we had already seen, just from different characters' point of view. So a lot of it felt like repetitive. So I didn't like that aspect of it. I did like revisiting these characters because it had been a while since I'd read the previous book. But overall, this is definitely not my favourite one in the series. And I feel like a lot of looking at other people's reviews, that seems to be the main kind of thoughts behind this. The later books in this series do seem kind of repetitive and a little bit unnecessary. So yeah, didn't love this one, but it was okay. Then Mafia Darling by Mila Finelli, which is book 2 in the Kings of Italy series. This is the one that I was thinking of. This one, books 1 and 2 are a duet following the same couple, so you do need to read them in order. Book 1 I gave 3 stars to, and book 4 I gave 4 stars to. This obviously concludes the couple's story, and I definitely feel like it could have maybe just been condensed down into one book. I'm not sure it necessarily needed to be 2 books. But this one we follow Francesca and Fausto, and I obviously won't go too much detail about what happens in book 2 because it is obviously the sequel. But the basic premise of this one is that Francesca comes from a mafia family, and Fausto is the head of another mafia family, and she is initially sent to marry Fausto's son, but they obviously don't get married, and she is more attracted to his father, Fausto, and they obviously have a relationship. And I don't know if this is a spoiler or not. I'll put it on the screen that this could be a possible spoiler for book 1. I'm not sure what it gives you in the summary, synopsis of the book. But Francesca becomes pregnant with Fausto's child, and that definitely causes some tension at the end of book 1. And then book 2 definitely picks up where book 1 left off. And although I read book 1 quite a while ago, I still got back into the story quite quickly, and the kind of drama and story unfolds for book 2. As I say, I won't go into too much detail other than that. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed this one. I am interested to continue on with the series, and I had a good time listening to this one. Then I read The Gentleman's Gambit by Evie Dunmore, and I gave this one 3 stars. This is definitely my least favourite book within the series. In this one we are following Katerina and Elias, and this one I feel like was more focused on the political nature rather than the romance. So all of this series has been definitely on a leaning towards a political side, because the female characters that we follow in each book are part of the women's suffrage movement. So as a result of that, obviously we do see a lot of political elements come into play, which I have really enjoyed, but I felt like in this one it took over a little bit too much, and the romance wasn't as well developed as some of the previous ones. I didn't feel as engaged with the characters in this one, so that's why I gave it 3 stars. It's definitely not my favourite from the series. And then I read, for the final book, and I'm going to talk about in this video, I read Nectar of the Wicked by Ella Fields. This is book 1 in the Deadly Divine Duet, and I gave this one 4 stars. So this one is a fae romance. We follow our main character, who is a challenging. She's been left in the human world to be raised by this woman who definitely resents the fact that she is a challenging and is not her real daughter, and she doesn't have the best life. And I think it's once a year, once every few years, the fae come to this town that they live in to basically exchange and trade different things, and the mother wants to go to the kind of bargain her daughter and say, or bargain the girl that she's raised to get back her original daughter, and she ends up dying or being killed because she is not very nice to the fae, and our main character is left alone, and she has to then start fending for herself, and she ends up becoming working at a brothel to kind of pay her way, and there she ends up meeting the Fae King, or one of the Fae Kings, and she is taken into the world of the Fae, and it is their romance. There is a lot of other things going on, but I don't want to go too much into spoilers of what happens. But I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was very fast-paced. It's quite a short book. It's just over 300 pages. I think it's just shy of 400 pages, and I had a really good time reading this one. I definitely am very keen to pick up the second book. I have it on hold from the library, but it is taking its time arriving in. I've been having a look at it, and the book has been in transit for quite a few, maybe not quite a few weeks, but definitely quite a few days, maybe like a week and a bit, and I don't know why it's taking its time arriving into the library, but I desperately want to get my hands on it because I want to see how the story concludes, because it ends on a cliffhanger, and I need to see what happens. So, but my stats for the end of May, I was really happy with the books that I read in May. In total, I read 24 books, which is kind of average for the months that I'm reading. That kind of fits in with where I'm usually sitting. I think I read 24 books in April as well, so really happy with that number. And the breakdown of those is 3 historical romances, 6 contemporary romances, 2 small town romances, 1 sports romance, 3 mafia romances, 1 mystery thriller, 6 fantasy, 1 historical fiction, and 1 dystopian novel. And that broke down into 13 physical reads, 8 audiobooks, and 3 ebooks. And then in terms of ratings, it was kind of a bit all over the place, but I had 1 2-star, 5 3 stars, 3 3.5 stars, 9 4 stars, 3 4.5 stars, and 3 5 stars. And then I had 7 new to me authors and 17 previously read authors. And then page count, I had 5 books that were less than 300 pages, 17 books that were 300 to 499 pages, and 2 books that were 500 pages or more. So let's dive into the books that I read in the second half of the month. So starting off, I read The Paris Express by Emma Donoghue, which I gave 3.5 stars to. So this one is quite a short book, and it is historical fiction. It follows a train crash that happened in Paris. It's a fairly famous train crash based on images that were taken at the time. So I will insert a little picture here of the image that kind of inspired this story. But as you can see, the train is kind of hanging out of the station, and the train, basically it was driving too fast, so when it went to brake, it because of the speed that it was going, it couldn't brake in time and then crashed through the kind of window in the station, and then was hanging over the edge of the station. Surprisingly, only one person ended up dying from this, and that person wasn't actually on the train. They were unfortunately a pedestrian that was below, basically where the train fell. So this story is follows the lead up to that event. It follows the train journey, and obviously the author has imagined what might have happened on that train journey and the type of people that were on the train journey. And this one, as I say, there's a lot of different characters that it follows, and we followed lots of different perspectives as they are on this train. We follow people in first class right down to people in like the lower classes, so we get to see a wide range of different people from different walks of life. I found it interesting. It was definitely a slower story. Even though it's quite short, it felt quite slow. And obviously we know what the end point of the story is. We know what's going to happen. And yeah, it was an interesting read. As I say, I like seeing a lot of the different characters. I did feel like, I don't know, because we obviously knew what was happening as you were reading it, it felt like it was kind of building up to something more. But obviously, you know, we know how it ends. So it was good. Definitely not my favourite thing, but definitely worth a read if you like historical fiction. And then next I listened to Next of Kin by Hannah Bonham Young, and I did really enjoy this one. I gave this 4 stars. I've read a couple of Hannah Bonham Young's books, and I do, oh, there's a receipt falling out of that book. Do really enjoy her writing. So in this one we are following Chloe and Warren, and both of these characters, for various different reasons, have been left in charge of looking after their siblings, and they are in the very early stages of kind of gaining custody of their siblings, and for different reasons for each character, they basically need to live with someone else. So I can't remember which way around it is, but Chloe basically for like financial reasons and to look good for I don't know what you call it, like the people that are going to grant custody, they need to be able to show that they can provide like a stable house and stable income and things like that, to be able to look after their sibling. So they end up living together, and Chloe is very optimistic about this. She thinks that it's going to be good, and that they can kind of help one another and support one another. And Warren is definitely, he's doing it because so that he can gain custody of his brother. He doesn't really want anything to do with Chloe. He sees it as like a means to an end sort of thing, and it is their romance. I enjoyed this one, but it's definitely not my favourite from this author. I thought the romance, it's quite a slow burn romance. They don't immediately get together, but I did really like seeing the journey that these characters took, and overall I would definitely recommend this one. Then I read A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen, and I gave this one 3 stars. So this one is the first book in the Saga of the Unfated series, and is based on it's Norse inspired fantasy. So we have this character whose name I can't remember, Freya, I think. And she ends up in a marriage that she doesn't want to be in, and it kind of all spirals down from there. And she has these powers. She is what's called a shield maiden, and she's been given these special powers. And I'll be honest, this one I gave 3 stars. I can't remember a ton about it. It was just very okay. Like, there was nothing bad about it, but I also didn't love it either. I am intrigued enough by it to check out the second book, which I do have on hold from the library, so we will see when that one comes in and whether I end up reading that. Then I had The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, which is by Carissa Broadbent and is book 3 in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and the first book in the Shadowborn duet, and this one I gave 4.5 stars to, so I did really enjoy this one. This one follows Misha's story, and I did really enjoy this. So we get to see a bit more of her past, but also we are in the present, and it is her and Asar's story. So Asar kind of saves her, and they end up travelling together to face... I'm trying to remember about this one, I'm just looking at my notes here. Yeah, they go into the kind of underworld on this kind of like almost like quest thing. I like this one, but it's definitely not my favourite in the series. I did feel at times that the story did drag, and I liked the romance, but I again didn't necessarily love it. Misha was my favourite character from the first two books. I did really enjoy her character, but I didn't quite like her character as much in this one, so I'm interested to see how this duet wraps up. And then I read An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson, which I gave 4 stars to. So this one is a Carmilla retelling. So after I read Hungerstone, I was in the mood to kind of check out some other Carmilla retellings, and this one is, was this young adult? I can't remember, but it is another sapphic retelling. This one is set at a boarding school, so we have a teacher who is quite mysterious, and she has a very select group of people that she teaches. It's a very like selective class. You have to kind of impress her to get into the class, and in the class we have Carmilla and Laura, and Laura is a new student to the school, and she is very much captivated by Carmilla, and there is something about her that she finds very intriguing. So I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really fun, and I definitely would be interested to check out more from this author. It's definitely hits that kind of vampire story that I was kind of on the lookout for. Then I listened to The Lady Sparks a Flame by Elizabeth Everett. This is book 2 in the Damsels of Discovery series, and I gave this one 4 stars. So this is historical romance, and this one follows I can't remember what her name is, Lady Phoebe Hunt, who is basically a bit of a scientist. She has in the past created this weapon, this bomb that was used to kill, it was set off and it killed a man. She wasn't the one that set it off, but she was the one that created it, and so there's a bit of a black cloud surrounding her name, and she went off to America, but she is now back in London, and there she meets Samuel Fenley, who is the son of a shop owner. Like his father owned a shop, and he's kind of improved himself and become like a wealthy man, self-made man, and is now like an investor. He puts money into different things, and he's you know, quite wealthy now, but he is a self-made man, so obviously the elite society do look down on him because he's not come from money, he has made his money, and that's obviously a big thing that the elite don't like that sort of person. And it is their romance. I did really enjoy this one. I think this one was a lot of fun, and I definitely liked listening to the audiobook for this. I haven't actually I haven't read the first book in this series, so I do plan to go back and read that at some point. But overall it was a really good read. If you are looking for a historical romance series, I do really recommend Elizabeth Everett's stories. All of her main characters, or all of the books that I've read from her, all of the female main characters have like an interest in science, which I do really like, so definitely worth checking out. Then I listened to Beating Heart by Laura Pavlov. This was book 4 in the Magnolia Falls series, and I really enjoyed this one. This one is a single dad romance, and I loved it. So we have, what was his name? Hayes? Is that his name? No, Hayes is another character. I can't remember the male character's name. I'll put it on the screen. But Emerson is the female character, and she is a doctor. She's been like working in city hospitals, and she moves to her this small town of Magnolia Falls after a breakup with her ex, and she is going to be the new town doctor. And our male main character has a son who suffers with quite severe asthma, and he is very concerned about this new doctor coming into town. She doesn't know his son's history, and he is concerned that she is not going to be sticking around and is not going to give like the proper care that his son needs, and it is their romance, and I absolutely love this one. The single dad romance trope is one of my favourites, so I definitely enjoyed this one. We get to see the child feature quite a lot. I can't remember what his name is, but his nickname is Beefcake, and we've seen him in the other books in the series as well, so he's not just a child that isn't really seen very often, but he is quite prevalent throughout the series. We've seen him in previous books, and he is so much fun. He's such a cute little kid, and I love seeing the relationship develop between him and Emerson, as well as obviously the romance develop between Emerson and his father. Absolutely love this one. I love Laura Pavlov's writing, and I really enjoyed listening to the audiobook for this one. Then I read Where Shadows Meet by Patrice Caldwell, which is book 1 in the Heirs of Shadow series. And sadly, I did not enjoy this one. So I gave this one 2 stars. This one is a sapphic vampire story. And I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you too much about what happened in here because I was so bored throughout it. I didn't really enjoy it. But the basic premise is that there's these 2 characters, and there's also, well, there's like 4 different characters because there's 2 different like timelines of stories, but it features vampires. It talks about like the first vampire. I didn't love this one. I don't think I will be reading the rest of this series. Sadly, as I say, was very disappointed by this book because the cover was so gorgeous, and when I saw it, I was very much intrigued. Like a sapphic vampire book sounds great, but yeah, I didn't enjoy this one. Then I listened to Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man by Jessie Q. Satano, and this is Vera Wong book 2. And I love this one. I gave this one 5 stars. So this series is so much fun to me. So Vera Wong is she calls herself an elderly woman, but she's not actually that old. She's like in her 60s. And she is very much your typical interfering old woman sleuth, and she gets herself into some hilarious situations, and she definitely sticks her nose in where she's not wanted, and but people can't seem to help but love her because she does interfere, but she is definitely she cares for people, and that's why she interferes. And I just have such a fun time reading these books. I definitely recommend the audiobooks. I think the audiobooks are where to go with this series if you are looking for just a fun read. Like, the mystery element is, yes, it's the main part of the plot, but I would say just like the characters are so much fun. Like, Vera Wong is what makes the book, in my opinion. So definitely recommend. Then I read Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, and I gave this one 4 stars. So this one has been getting a lot of mixed reviews. Some people really dislike it and some people really love it. And I think if you go into this book with the right expectations, then that can obviously impact your rating. So I think if you are going into this book expecting a cute, fun romance, then you will be disappointed. But if you go into this book knowing that it leans a bit more to women's fiction rather than romance, and does deal with some heavier hitting stuff, which the cover doesn't really suggest, then I think your expectations will be set and you can enjoy this book properly. So this one we follow 2 characters, and we have our main male character who is a vet, and our main female character, and they meet when our main female character takes this cat in that she finds, and the vet basically says to her that it would be better if she put the cat down, because the chances of survival are low, and it would cost a lot to help the cat. So he recommends, like, in his professional opinion, it would be better to put him down. That would be like the kindest thing to do. She disagrees, and she raises money online for the surgery that the cat needs, and then she takes him back to the vet and after the surgery. And they have this kind of instant connection, and they are definitely attracted to each other right from the start, but they are in very different places in life. The main male character is obviously set up his vet practice, and he is obviously tied to that location because of his vet practice. He's obviously got bills to pay, etc, etc. And then our main female character has had to move away to take care of her mother, who is suffering with dementia, and her dementia is quite advanced, and her mother isn't actually too old. I think she's in like her 50s, but our main female character has obviously gone back to care for her mother. So they spend a lot of the book apart, and he and she travel back and forth when they can to see each other, but it is very much a long distance relationship, and there is obviously a lot of other things going on. We do see quite a lot of her mother's journey with dementia, which I will say, if you have any experience with dementia, like if you know someone who has dementia, then it will be quite a difficult read, and just that stories of that nature can be quite difficult to read, so just know that going in. The author, I'm pretty sure, does give a trigger warning for it. I'm sure I saw that at the beginning of the book, although I'm not 100% certain because I know a lot of people have talked about it, so I knew that was going to be a part of it going into it. But if that is something that is going to be triggering for you, then I would advise caution when reading it. But overall, I did give this one a 4-star. I thought it was a really good book, and yeah, I do enjoy Abby Jimenez writing. Then I read Falling Fast by Jenny Fletcher. This is, I don't know if it's part of a series or I think it is part of a series. Book 1 was called Lights Out, and it's like an F1 romance series. And this one I gave 3 stars to. I will be honest, I didn't necessarily love this one. So this one we follow Ava and Leaf. And Ava is a massive F1 fan. She has her own podcast, and she has great aspirations to work for the social media marketing team of one of the F1 teams, and she is interviewed for a job at her dream F1 team, but they want her to start straight away, but she's actually still in school. And so it doesn't work out, and in the end she gets hired by another team, but it's like a lesser team in the league, I guess, or I don't know what you call it, but it's not like, it's probably it's the most underperforming team in the league, and she gets hired for there, and she's very happy with the job, but obviously it's not her dream job. And one of the drivers there, Leaf, is who she ends up having a romance with. I thought this one was okay, but the romance in here wasn't my favourite, and I found the book a little bit boring in places, so just overall a 3-star read, nothing amazing to write about. Then I read The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings, and I gave this one 3 stars. So this is Jessa Hastings' new book. So Jessa Hastings wrote the Magnolia Park series. I have actually only ever read the first book, and I didn't necessarily love that one. I think I gave it 3 stars as well. And then I tried to read the next book, which is the Daisy Hates one. Couldn't get into that one, so DNF'd it. And then I saw that she had a new book out, and I thought I will give that one a try to see if it is just the Magnolia Park series that I didn't like, or if it's this author's writing in general that I didn't really enjoy. And I think it is this author's writing. I wasn't super invested in this one. So in this one we have a main character who is, what's her name? Georgia, and at the start of the book, she comes from a relatively wealthy family, and at the start of the book she finds out that her father has passed away. Now, she had a difficult relationship with her father, so she definitely has mixed feelings about how she should feel about the fact that her father has passed away. So this book definitely deals with grief, and we see obviously the other members of her family, how they are coping with the loss, and there is a lot of things that have gone on with this family. There's been events in the past that we kind of slowly revealed to us that has made Georgia not really part of the family. She's definitely had some troubles in the past, and definitely mixed feelings towards her family members. But she obviously has to go back home to deal with the loss of her father, and drama unfolds, and which I think seems to be a theme that Jessa Hastings loves to write about, is characters with a lot of drama. And yeah, I just didn't really vibe with this one. It was okay, but I was kind of reading it to kind of finish it. I wasn't super invested with this story, so not my favourite. I don't think I'm going to read anything by Jessa Hastings in the future, but I'm glad that I did try this one out, so I have made that decision. Then I read Iron and Embers by Helen Shearer, and this is book 1 in the Ashes of Thesmar series, and I gave this one 4.5 stars, and I really enjoyed this one. So this one is a spin-off series of one of Helen Shearer's other books. I think it's called The Legends of Thesmar, which I haven't read, and you can definitely go into this one without reading that series. I think obviously if you've read that series, you'll probably get more out of this series if you have read that, but you can definitely go into it without reading it. I didn't find that to be a problem. And in this one we have our main character called Ren, who is a alchemist, and she works with poisons, and she ends up going to this kind of academy to hone her skills, and there is a lot of trials that she goes through at this academy. It's very much a quite almost like deadly trials that she goes through for like an academy. They definitely put their students in danger, and she has a bodyguard called Torge, and they have a bit of a past together, and there's definitely an attraction between the two, and it is their romance. I really enjoyed this one, and I cannot wait to read the second book whenever that comes out. I think hopefully it's coming out later on in the year, but I'm not 100% sure, but definitely on the hunt to check that out when it comes out. Then I read Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bestone, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. So this one I didn't love, and this one I think again you need to be aware of the story matter before going into it. So this one we follow our main character, who is called, what was her name, Lenny? Lenny, and her best friend Lou passed away quite recently to cancer, and Lenny is grieving the loss of her best friend. Like, they were inseparable, they were almost like siblings to one another, like their friendship was really close. So Lenny is struggling a lot with grief, and there is a romance in here, but I would say Lenny's grief journey is kind of the main central focus of this book. So if you struggle, or if reading about someone else grieving is going to be triggering for you, then I would advise not reading this one, because it is a main part of the book. And Lenny works as a nanny, and the reason that she works as a nanny is because it's kind of, she can focus on it for short periods of time, and it's a distraction from her grief, but it's not, a lot of nanny gigs are temporary, and so she can focus for that short period of time, and then after that can wallow in her grief. And she becomes this nanny for this little girl called Ainsley, and whilst nannying for Ainsley, she meets Ainsley's uncle Miles. And Miles also has his own backstory. He is also dealing with grief, but he's in a different stage, I would say, of grieving to Lenny. Lenny's grief is very recent. His is a bit more like, he obviously still feels grief, but he's had more time, so he kind of says that he's going to help Lenny on her kind of grief journey, and he's going to be there for her so she can talk to him, and just be there for her, because she doesn't really have anyone. She's kind of been avoiding speaking to her mother because she finds it too difficult, so he definitely steps up to be there for her. And it is their romance, and as I say, the romance is definitely a secondary plot point, and it is a slow burn. They don't get together until very much towards the end of the book. So if you are looking for a romance, this one's probably not the one for you. It's more of a women's fiction book dealing with grief. And so that is why I didn't necessarily love this one. I didn't know too much about the plot when I was going into it. So yeah, just be aware that it is quite a heavy read. And then I read To Love a Scot by Jennifer Haymore, and I gave this one 3 stars. This one is a romance between a couple that is already married. So we have our couple, they have been married together for some years, and this one I would say there is a trigger warning for a loss of a child. And our main female character had a child. She gave birth, and the child only survived for, I think, a week, and unfortunately the child passed away. And she obviously was distraught, as was the husband, and she definitely pushed the husband away, and the husband kind of took her at her word, and she pushed him away because obviously she was grieving, and he went away. She didn't obviously actually want him to go away, but he took her at her word, and it is about them coming back together. He is a soldier and he is at war, and she has been kind of thinking about her husband and realizes that she does still want to be with him, so she goes to the battlefront to kind of find him. And he is injured, and they obviously slowly rekindle their relationship. And I like this one, but it's definitely not my favourite from this author. I think sometimes with couples that are already married, sometimes them coming back together can be done really well, and it can be really good. And other times I don't know, I don't always necessarily love reading about couples that are already married. But yeah, it was a good one. It was okay. This is a short novella, so if you're looking for a short historical romance, this one's a good book to read. This one was only 144 pages, so you can get through it quite quickly. And it's also available on Kindle Unlimited. And then I read Miles Ever After by T.L. Swan. This is book 5 in the Miles High Club, and I gave this one 4 stars. So I've had some books checked out on my Kindle for a really long time, on Kindle Unlimited, for a really long time, and I really wanted to kind of get through some of them because there's new ones out that I really want to check out, but I don't want to return the other ones that I've got because I obviously want to read those as well. So I've decided to kind of read through some of my oldest ones, and Miles Ever After I've had on my Kindle Unlimited checked out for a really long time, almost like since it came out. And this one is a basically short story collection of epilogues for all of the couples in the Miles High Club series. So I would say if you don't like reading epilogues, you can skip this. If you've read the other books in the Miles High Club series and you are a big fan, then you will really like this. It was really great to see the couples again. So I have kind of mixed feelings about the Miles High Club series. The first 2 books I would say are my favourites, and then book 3 and 4. Book 4 is probably my least favourite, and book 3 was okay. But book 2 is my favourite, and then book 1 is like my next favourite. So yeah, mixed feelings about the series, but overall it's a series that I did really enjoy, and I really liked being back with these characters. So the epilogue for the Takeover, which is my favourite book, I absolutely loved. Really liked that one, and love seeing those characters again. The Stopover and the Casanovas epilogues I also really enjoyed. The Casanova epilogue deals with, and there is a trigger warning for this that's in the book, deals with discussions of fertility issues. So if that is something that triggers you, I would skip that epilogue completely, because it's very prevalent throughout that story as they go on a fertility journey. And yeah, that is a very prevalent thing, so if it's something that you struggle to read, I would avoid that one. And then the Do-Over one is my least favourite book in the series, and they are my least favourite couple, and I would say that is my least favourite epilogue as well. But yeah, it was really fun to be back with these characters, and it definitely has made me want to revisit this series, or at least my favourite book. So I do plan to reread the Takeover and the Stopover at some point, which is books 1 and 2, 2 being my favourite. And yeah, really happy that I did finally read that one, and I gave that one 4 stars if I didn't already say. So those are all of the books that I read in May. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next one.